record on this. Hey, everybody, this is the April, 5th office hours for the release team, the Cluster API release team. There's some fancy things I'm supposed to say. I don't know how to say, I don't know what the script is for saying that as a part of the Kubernetes CNCF code of conduct. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and I'll screen share here real quick. Oh my goodness, Zoom, get out of my way. All right. So we have just a few short agenda items today. And I kind of wanted to start out, since this is a brand new team, and just try to do short introductions if that works. So I'll go ahead. Hey, I'm Joe Kratzit. I'm one of the release leads on the release team. And yeah, so I helped with the previous release. And so I'm excited to help with 1.5. We can go with, I don't know, Killian, you're in the top left for me. Let you go next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Killian. I work at VMware. I'm going to be CI, automation, maybe triage in there as well, manager of the cycle. But yeah, mainly working on the CI team. So this is my first time in a release team. I've done kind of tagging and stuff, helping with cutting release in the past. But yeah, exciting to see how it goes. Guillermo.
Hey, Guillermo, work for AWS, first time participating in the release process, so shadowing on the documentation side of things with Nawaz. I know, Christian, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Christian. I'm Christian, part from VMware. I'm happy to join the CI automation, whatever the third word was, team as shadow. Yeah. Don't know. Nawaz?
Right when I was about to give my intro, a VS Code pops up saying, hey, enter your password. Sorry about that. I'm Nawaz. I work at Microsoft. I'll be part of or leading the communications team. I'm doing this for the first time too, so happy to be here. Next, Furkat.
Sure, thanks. Hi, folks. I'm Furkat. I work for SUSE. I served as a CI manager in the previous release cycle. Lots of familiar faces here, and happy to be here for this release cycle as well. Thanks. Then Mohammed.
Hello, everyone. My name is, you can call me Adil. I work at Ericsson, and I am shadowing for the CI automation team. This is also my first time. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Thank you.
Amit, you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, so myself Amit. I served as a release lead shadow for the previous release cycle, and currently I am a release lead shadow for the comms team. Anirudh, would you like to go next?
Yeah, Anirudh. I'm Anirudh. Yeah, so I work at defense.com. I served the release team previously on 1.4 as the CI signals shadow, and I'm continuing working on that team. Yeah, I am a little bit more experienced, but not that much like others. Yeah, that's anyone else? Prajot.
Yeah. Hi, Joe. Hi, all. So myself, Prajot. So I work at IBM. This is my first time joining the release team as a shadow for the release process. Hoping to learn from you guys. Yeah.
And I think the last one is Chirayu.
Hello everyone, so I'm Chirayu Kapoor. I'm working as a product engineer in InfraCloud, I've been contributing to the cluster API project for a couple of months now, around 6 to 7 months. I haven't worked on the release team or any of the kind of the release lead or the community information as well, but this is basically my first time in this field. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working and learning.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. For the people who were on the last cycle, I have big shoes to fill with like helping do what Yuvraj did. So please feel free to call me out and keep me honest. And it will never bother me or hurt my feelings if I miss something and you call me out on it. That's why we're here. That's why we're a team, and I'm really excited. So a couple of first things to cover real quick. If you all don't have or have not read over kind of the release team tasks, we've got some documentation out there. It's really good, really well-versed, and it will kind of explain everything you need to do in pretty good detail. And then the other document here is, if I can get this out of my way, is our schedule. Why did that not load? It's either me, it's not GitHub. Okay. So we have our release schedule here. And so this is kind of what we're this is what we're gonna be following to get some of the releases out. So we'll have some patch releases coming up, then the beta releases, the RCs, and then finally the final release coming around July 25th. So this will be hopefully communicated week over week to the team, and we'll kind of keep this in our mind as we're working through this. And these are the dates we're trying to shoot for in our timeline. We have a few open tasks, and I think Killian's going to talk about another one down here. But I've been trying to keep the task list going from 1.4 that Yuvraj created, and we have a 1.5 release cycle. Somebody mentioned maybe setting up a GitHub project for release cycle so we could keep track of all this instead of creating a single big release. I don't have access to do that, but I think I can talk to some of the maintainers, maybe Killian, we can set something up to maybe track this. Maybe it'll make it easier. Maybe we'll hate it. I don't know. But I think it'll be easier than tracking all of this in one big issue. But for now, here's kind of outstanding issues that anybody can work on when they have time to kind of make the release cycle a little bit easier. We tried to break them up into the different teams. And then there's a lot of like documentation stuff that possibly can be updated as well. So feel free to start conversations around any of this, you know, and pick up what you can when you can. And then lastly, if I can load this one, we have the overall release 1.5 tasks to kind of keep track of. So this is just, again, kind of the roadmap of things that will be needed to be done week over week, and kind of the teams that will work on them. So these are kind of the must-haves, and then the improvements are the really, really nice to haves as we kind of go through this process. So I'd recommend kind of just looking through that so you get a high level view of what's coming down the pipe. Anything on the PSAs before we move to the discussion topics? Cool. So it looks like Killian, you've got some things to bring up here.
Yeah, a couple of quick ones, I think. So the first one there is the area labels thing. Joel, this is your issue. But yeah, I think you raised this at the community meeting last week. There hasn't been any comments on it since. I say go to the doc. Well, actually, if anybody, let's leave it a couple of days. If anybody on this team has strong opinions on it, please look at the issue, and there's a Google Doc linked in one of the comments below with proposals for the labels. But let's say this week, raise the PR with, I think, testinfra or case.io, wherever the PR needs to go, and we'll alter the labels. And then if people have strong opinions later on, it's not very hard to add and remove labels. So let's get a minimal, reasonable set, so we can move forward, because the important thing with the labels, this is for the communications team, is that this will really help. There's still manual work in making release notes and categorizing stuff. And this is designed to get rid of that. So the earlier in the release cycle we have that, the more it'll benefit us. And also we can, once we have the labels in place that we need, we can go back and label older PRs with them so that the release notes work. So this will really take away a lot of the manual work in that. I think, what was the second?
Sorry. So real quick on this one before we move on, Nawaz and I talked about this and kind of has understanding around it a little bit as well. So I'll help drive that as well as I think that team will help drive this a little bit to make their lives easier. Furkat, you got your hand up, yes.
Yes, real quick. I didn't know that we are using labels for the release notes, like how they are important or like how they are used in release notes.
That's a great
As far
question.
as I knew, like you just label the PRs with these icons, and when the release notes are generated, it should automatically sort it for you.
So yes. So the one thing, and I'll come down here to maybe a bigger one. You're absolutely right. The PR titles are how we group and sort them. But then there's also this concept of, I think prefix, area labels, whatever you want to call it. But basically, all PRs are then manually added to an area. So that way, when people come in to read through this, they can go, oh, wow, this is all the cluster API, or sorry, cluster CUDL changes. And so the release notes team has to essentially manually add that. And in some cases, kind of take a shot in the dark as to if they're right or not. So the proposal from the open issue is like, hey, we would love to add a whole bunch of these area labels. So when either a contributor or most likely the reviewer is going to add the area labels. So that way then the release notes team can update the notes.go CLI and pull that out automatically, prepend it to the beginning of the string, and then hopefully removes a lot of effort. So we found that it took multi-hours essentially to get 1.4 ready to manually do that from the release notes team. So that's kind of why we pushed on that one pretty hard.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that, and that's very nice. I know that's a pain. We used to do that in Provider. Like whenever you have a minor release, it's you have to go through everything, and there are some things like you have to sort manually that it cannot. So like without icons. But yeah, this is a really good improvement. Thanks.
Nawaz, yes.
Just to clarify on this, I don't think it's still implemented yet. I mean, fetching the tags associated to each PR, or is it already implemented? Sorry, I didn't get a chance to look into.
Yeah, no worries. It is not, from what I can tell, currently implemented. I will go ask Oscar, who was the comms release lead last time. I think it was in some flux of a state, right? I think the idea was we didn't want to land anything until the labels are there, and the chicken and egg problem.
Fair
So
enough.
we can go ask him and figure out kind of the state of things. But
Yeah,
even if the code change doesn't land, this will be a huge improvement for the release team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it's also going to be a great work item once the labels get landed. So. Thanks.
Sorry, Guillermo, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, this comes from total ignorance about this topic. Are the area labels mutually exclusive? Like you can only have, because usually in GitHub, you can have all the labels that you want, right? So is there anything that it stops someone from adding multiple area labels? Because if that's the case, then if we're going to automate this eventually, how do we decide which one is the label that drives the prefix in the description?
That's a great question. And I think the answer to that is unknown at this time, right? So I think that's something that the comms team can kind of discuss maybe with the maintainer to try to figure out like what this looks like. Because you're absolutely right. You can add multiple labels and one may or may not win out, right? Like maybe you have to put, I don't know. But that's a great question. Yeah. Furkat.
Yeah, one more point just came to my mind. It's like maybe, I don't know, we have to mention somewhere that maintainers or whoever is merging the PR should make sure that the PR has the label. Otherwise, you have to do it still manually. Or is it does that gets applied when we open a PR? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so that's a great call out. And Killian called that out down here, where we probably need to create an issue to add an area need label to all open PRs. So I think the idea would be to update the template, add need PR, and then that way we would make sure it's added. Yeah, Killian.
Yeah, just on, I think, a bunch of those questions, I think this is going to be iterative. So I think, if I'm right, Oscar's PR is not merged yet, which adds the area labels to the PR tool. I think if right now, if a PR has multiple labels, I think the implementation is that it basically adds a no label tag. So it pushes it back to manual work. It's the same as having no area label, which is probably the right call to start with. And then, yeah, once we have the area labels and we start using them and have agreement on how to use them, there's a lot of optimizations and automations we can do. So one is adding the area needed, which is like what we do for triage. We can also prevent merging without that, but that would be, let's say, more controversial because that really does push things on maintainers. And then there's also auto labeling based on where the actual code is. So you can do that. You might end up with multiple labels as a result. Some things are like cross-cutting, but there's definitely some automation we can do in that. But I think it'll be, yeah, there'll be a lot of work in improving that as we go on once we start using it.
Yep, great point. So we've got about 10 minutes left. So Killian, let's move on to the next one unless there's any major things. We can keep talking about this over time. I think it's absolutely iterative. So let's move on to the communication one.
Yeah, this is just a broad point. I know there's a new team. A lot of people, including me, haven't done this before. But I think it's always good to try to keep things in the open. So try to keep things in the CAPI channel. Prefer to do things in threads so we're not causing a lot of noise for people who don't care, and like it can be alienating for people to log onto a channel and have a bunch of messages. So try to keep things in threads in the open. If you are not going to ask a question because you don't want to ask it in the open because you think it's silly or for whatever other reason, do ask it in private. Like, we don't want to like prevent people from communicating this way. But I think we're going to do this like, so yesterday, let's say we did our first 1.4.1 release. A lot of that was me and Joe like PMing over and back to get things done. Hopefully by the time we have our first scheduled release, that was a little surprise, the one yesterday. Hopefully by the time we have the first scheduled release, we'll do that in public in a Zoom room. So everybody on the release team and anybody else from the community can drop in, have a look, ask questions. So yeah, so I think just as a general idea going forward, try to keep things in the open where we can, because it's just benefits the community a lot more.
Yep, 100%. And yes, that is a failing on my part, given that we had this quick push out. I think the plan in the future is to have a Zoom room. I don't know if it'll be recorded or not. I know release times are hard time zone wise. So we'll try to make things work to where everybody can feel like they're being a part of it for sure. So if there are things where you're feeling like, hey, it's not, I'd love for it to be recorded, let me know. It just sometimes can be really long while you wait for jobs to run. So we'll have to figure some of that stuff out. Cool. Killian, CI team hack session.
Yeah, so I think we already had some internal comms inside the CI team. Going to try to set up ongoing hacking sessions. Hopefully get a first one done, maybe a limited one, but sometime next week. Hopefully be able to rotate that. I know Christian was well able to do them, probably better than me. We might be able to get some people to guest as well. It'd be nice to have Stefan if he has time sometime in the future. But I'd like to get these started again. Public Zoom room, mainly for the CI team, try and find a balance on time zones, but obviously anybody from the release team can join, anybody from the wider community can join. And really this is about like, there's a lot of great tooling in CAPI for debugging. And it's about spreading knowledge about how to use things like Tilt with debugging, which a lot of people, it's like, it can be hard to get into, but once you realize how it works, it's incredibly powerful for like debugging stuff. So yeah, hoping to get these started next week. Should hopefully get one out of the way before KubeCon. And then the other thing there is like goals for the CI team. I hope to, and Christian asked this earlier, I hope to come up with some idea for flakiness other than it doesn't feel right, and some concept of what's too flaky and what flakes need to be investigated and what flakes don't, and do some documentation on that. I think in the retro, there was some feedback that the CI team didn't really know how to do that, but there are some tools there, there's some metrics available, and we should leverage on them and try to figure out what the CI team should actually be doing in terms of flakiness. So yeah, that's just a longer term goal, I guess, for the 1.5 cycle for this team. And I'm very welcoming to any ideas anybody has on that front.
Awesome. Yeah, for Nawaz, I think you had your hand up. Was that for this one or for the next?
It was for the same one, but then Killian answered himself that one of the sessions will be posted online. So I just wanted to ask that it'd be great if other teams can also join, or anybody from the community. Yeah, thanks for that.
And so if you all aren't aware, we have the @Cappy release team label now, so it should go to everybody on this rotation. So use it sparingly because it'll hit everybody, but use it when you need to get in contact with everybody. So a perfect example would be like, hey, we're starting this hack session now, and then @tag everybody. So that is there. Feel free to use it when it's needed. I'll use it for every release that we're going to do, kind of like what we did yesterday, which was, hey, we're starting the release of 1.4.1, and then we'll start the thread from there. So awesome. Nawaz, the comms team.
Yeah, this was, I think, more specific to the comms team. There was two parts of sharing the communication within the cluster API. One was after a release, but there was another one where we post a weekly update with respect to the changes which has gone in over that week. Do we want to continue on that, or is it something I just wanted to understand what would be the expectations around it?
I think that second one that you mentioned, the weekly comms update, was something that the comms team last time came up with on their own to kind of allow the community to see the changes being done, and just kind of overly communicate, hey, this is what's taking place. I don't know that it needs to continue if you don't want to, or if you have any thoughts on that, but I think it's up to the community on what you all want to do there.
Is there any automated script which we have written by any chance, which can just pull in the commit diff for the week, for the whole week?
No, but there is a link I can give to you that will pull the diff from GitHub to pull all that information if you want. And then I think we manually wrote that by hand last time. It took 10 minutes, but
okay,
if you script something up, that'd be perfect too.
Yeah, I think that will be a good work item as well. But yeah, that's all I wanted to know. Thanks.
Cool. Wow, we got a minute under. Sorry, I was pushing. Is there anything anybody else wants to bring up before we drop for the next call? Awesome. Well, I'm gonna stop screen sharing and we will stop the recording. Thanks everybody.